Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another installment of Scott's Selections here for Friday, June 21st. Before we get into the play of the day, we'll quickly recap what happened yesterday. We picked up another winner with the over 8.5 in the Rockies and Diamondbacks game. It was a daytime game, so if you ended up missing that line, I apologize. But we ended up picking up our third straight winner. It was more stressful than it probably should have been, as we needed a run from the Rockies in the ninth inning just to bring it to extras. But the Diamondbacks stranded 11 people on base in the first 8 innings, and I feel like that game should have had at least 10 runs before extra innings. It ended up with a 6-4 final, so we ended up cashing it. But either or, we got another winner. So that'll bring us into today's play of the day. Now, I'm actually going to preface this by saying that most books, if not all books, do not have a line for this yet, so shop accordingly. But I definitely see value in this play whenever the line will come up. And this game is supposed to start at 10 o'clock Eastern time, so you have a lot of time to get this bet submitted if you end up wanting it. How's it going, Terry? Thanks for joining us. In terms of the play of the day, we're going to be looking at the Seattle Mariners and the Baltimore Orioles. Now, I'm not aware if all of you realize this. The Baltimore Orioles are bad, and they've actually lost 9 straight. Seattle has traded away Edwin Encarnacion and Jay Bruce over the last couple of weeks, but they have won their last 2. They are at home, and with the Orioles losing 9 straight, I'm going to have to lean to the Mariners in this one. However, since all the offshore books do not have a lineup yet because of the uncertainty of who will be pitching for the Orioles, according to some Vegas line moves, they have the Mariners as roughly a minus 147 favorite. However, that does seem a little bit too juicy for me. And knowing Seattle's bullpen as well as Baltimore's bullpen, I'm not really going to dive into a full game bet because of the inconsistencies regarding both units. Well, no, I mean, they're both consistent. They're just both consistently terrible. So with that being said, I do know that there is one lineup available at Pinnacle, and that is Seattle first 5 pick'em, which is at minus 135. However, I think minus 135 is a little bit too juicy. So our play of the day will actually be on the Seattle Mariners first half minus a half, and that line is currently not available. However, I will be updating it on my Twitter. Once that line becomes available, I will give you the best possible value there is on the market. And the main reason here, Seattle is going to be sending Mike Leake to the mound. If that name sounds familiar to you, it should, because he's been around for a decent amount of time, former Reds pitcher. Now he's on the Mariners. He's 6-6 with a 4.14 ERA. However, he actually has been pretty solid in his last couple of starts. In each of his last 4 starts, he's gone at least 7 innings and given up 3 earned runs or less. So he has done really well. His last start at Oakland, 7 innings, 2 earned runs. Definitely a solid pitcher. His last home start, he had a complete game, 1-run performance against the Astros. And he also has good numbers against the Orioles and very good numbers at home. If you look at his home splits, he is 4-2 with a 2.95 ERA at home. So I like Leake in the spot. I think Leake will pitch well again against this Orioles lineup that has been consistently underwhelming. And for the Orioles, although it has not been officially announced who will be starting this game, it has been rumored via RotoWire that Sean Gilmartin will be the primary pitcher of the Orioles. And when I say primary pitcher, that means that since John Means has been sent to the IL and he will not be able to pitch in this game, the Orioles might be turning this to a bullpen game, which I know that sounds dumb, and it should, because the Orioles have the second worst bullpen ERA in the entire league, and they're also giving up a record pace amount of home runs to opposing lineups. And the Mariners, as I don't think it needs to be said, they hit dingers, and I definitely think that Gilmartin, who has not pitched yet this season in the majors, will struggle, and I think he will only pitch roughly an inning or 2. I could see the Orioles shuffling through a bunch of unknown pitchers who are very underwhelming, and I think the Mariners will be able to get to this Orioles pitching staff early and often. I think Leake will give up a maximum of 2 runs in the first 5. I think Seattle should score at least 3 runs in the first 5, so I think you should see decent value on this. And if the pick'em's at minus 135, that means you could be looking at a minus a half at roughly plus 105 or so. So I think there's a lot of value on that, and for that reason, we'll be giving out the Mariners minus a half in the first 5 as the play of the day. But as I said before, the line for that has not officially been up yet, so check my Twitter if you want the official line once it ends up popping up. I'll tell you which book and what the line is, so you will know for transparency purposes how many units we could potentially be making in this wager. But with that being said, we're going to quickly dive into the rest of the betting card. We have a game going on right now already between the Mets and the Cubs have a 2-1 lead in the top of the third inning. Moving on, you have the Phillies versus the Marlins. Nola did not pitch well in his last start, but he's against Alcantara. Alcantara hasn't been great this season, but in terms of this start, I will lean to the under 8. Phillies just got swept by the Nationals, not in great form. Nola was not great in his last start, but he has pretty good numbers against the Marlins, and the Marlins, as everyone knows, cannot hit the ball. I think the Phillies could score 5 or 6 runs in this game, but I definitely think the Marlins will be stymied, and I think that they will only score 2 runs max. So I will lean to the under 8 here. I think this will be a low-scoring game. Moving on, you have the Pirates versus the Padres with Musgrove versus Lauer. In this game, money has poured in on the over. It's up from 9 to 9.5. I lean to the over 9.5. Pirates offense will look pretty good. Padres offense has looked pretty solid as well, as they were able to sweep the Brewers before having a day off yesterday. I think both teams should score at least 4 or 5 runs. Lean to the over 9.5 there. Moving on, you have the Yankees versus the Astros. Yankees and Astros had a very interesting game, as there was a rain delay for about an hour and a half before the Yankees ended up winning that game comfortably. Paxton was great in his last start. Peacock has been pretty solid this season. Totals at 9.5. Based on how the Yankees lineup has been performing, I simply cannot take the under in this game. Paxton has pitched well, though, overall at home, besides the one game that we bet on him against the Mets. I'll lean to the Yankees there, and I'll lean to the Yankees team total over, as right now the Yankees offense is a complete freight train, and I'm not going to get in front of them at all. And the Astros have lost. They got swept by the Reds, and they lost the first game of this series. Not in the greatest form, lean to the Yankees and the over. Moving on, you have a season debut for longtime pitcher Dallas Keuchel with the Atlanta Braves versus the Washington Nationals with Steven Strasburg. In terms of this game, Washington's a minus 150 favorite, and the total has been bet up from 9 to 9.5. I'll have to lean to the over 9.5 here, and I will have to lean to the Nationals. Even though I don't think the Nationals should be a minus 150 here, I do like the way they've been playing lately. They ended up sweeping the Phillies over the last couple of days. Atlanta had a day off yesterday, but Keuchel's having his first start of the season after a very long layoff due to just contract disputes. So for me, I'll lean to the Nationals and I'll lean to the over. I think Keuchel will come out rusty in his first MLB start in I don't even know how long, roughly 8 or 9 months, if not more. So I'll lean to the Nationals there. Moving on, you have Boston versus Toronto with Sale versus Thornton. Lean to the under 8.5 here. There's not much value on Sale at minus 320. So I think that the Red Sox will win this game. Obviously, the Red Sox have been playing well lately. Thornton's been okay. He's been hit or miss, but I think Sale will give up 1 run max. And I think that this game should go under 8.5, so I'll lean to the under there. Moving on, you have Detroit versus Cleveland with Boyd versus Bauer. Cleveland's a huge favorite in this spot. Boyd's a solid pitcher, but Bauer is also really good, and Cleveland's in a much better form than Detroit is. In terms of this game, I will lean to the under 7.5. Both starting pitchers definitely have the ability to shut down their lineups. Both bullpens are not great, but I think both starters should go at least 7 innings. So I think the limited bullpen exposure should lead to less runs, and I'll lean to the under in that one. Moving on, you have the White Sox versus the Rangers with Lopez versus Jurado. I lean to the over 11.5. Based on what I've seen from both pitchers, I am not very sold on either starting pitcher for this matchup, and I don't like the bullpens for either team, and I like the lineups for both teams. So with that being said, I think that's a good formula for an over, and I'll lean to the over 11.5 in Arlington. I think you'll see a lot of runs. Lean to the over. Moving on, you have the Reds versus the Brewers. Now, this is kind of tricky because you have Chase Anderson versus Sonny Gray. I don't like Sonny Gray, but I also don't like Chase Anderson. I hate the way the Brewers have played lately, as the Reds have also won 5 straight. Lean to the Reds as a small underdog here, and I'll lean to the over 8.5. Until I see the Brewers offense suddenly pick it up, I'm not going to back them. And Sonny Gray has not been great by any means, but his ERA is only 3.77, so he hasn't been awful. I'll lean to the Reds in that one. Moving on, you have the Twins versus the Royals with Perez versus Junis. Lean to the over 10.5 here, and I will lean to the Twins minus 1.5. Royals announced yesterday that their best player, arguably, Mondesi, will be on the IL, and he will not be playing for the next week. And Minnesota has struggled lately, but Junis has been awful this season, and he actually played against the Twins in his last start and was awful. He didn't even go 4 innings. So I'll lean to the Twins. I think the Bats will wake up in this one. I think they'll win this game comfortably. Lean to the over 10.5. Moving on, you have the Angels versus the Cardinals with Koenig versus Waka. I lean to the Angels here. I like the way the Angels' offense has been performing. I like the way Trout's been performing, and Waka's stuff is not dynamic by any means. So I will lean to the Angels on that one, and I will lean to the over 9.5. Moving on, you have the Giants versus the Diamondbacks. I will lean to the Diamondbacks on that one. They suffered a tough extra innings loss with a blown save by Greg Holland yesterday, but I still like the team, and I like the way that they play at home. Lean to the Diamondbacks on that one. Moving on, you have Oakland versus Tampa Bay. I will lean to Oakland, and I will also lean to the under 9. Very thrilling game yesterday. Oakland was on 3 runs entering the 9th inning, scored 4 runs in the 9th inning with a walk-off home run by Matt Chapman, and they ended up escaping with the win. I like Oakland in this spot, but I do have concerns about who Tampa Bay will be throwing out for pitching. I know that Kittredge will be starting the game, but he's only going to go an inning. But Tampa Bay will be switching over to another pitcher who's given Oakland batters fits, and I definitely think that this will be a lower scoring game. Lean to the under there. And moving on to the Dodgers and Colorado, I have to lean to the under 7.5 here. I know the Rockies lineup has been pretty solid, and I know that their bullpen's not great, but Buehler versus Marquez is a primetime pitching matchup, and I think runs will be coming at a premium. I will lean to the under in that one. And the play of the day, as I said before, will be on the Seattle Mariners first half -0.5, and the line has not been posted yet. I will update that on my Twitter. With that being said, quick reminder of our sponsor, PointsBet, online sportsbook at New Jersey. Great deal for you, up to 2 risk-free bets up to $1,000. So if you end up betting on any of these games and end up losing, you get your $1,000 back and don't have to worry about rebuilding your entire bankroll. Yeah, Terry, in terms of the Marlins no-score first inning, I do like that wager. It's also risky because of the fact that you don't really know who's going to hit a solo home run in the first or anything like that. But in terms of Nola versus Alcantara, if Alcantara can get through the first inning, I think that you're set because I think Nola should be able to breeze through the Marlins lineup today. So I will lean to the under in that one also. Yeah, how's it going, Michael? Thanks for joining us. How's it going, Jorge? Thanks for joining us as well. But with that being said, play of the day, Seattle Mariners, first half -0.5 in the first 5. So with that being said, that's going to do it for this installment of Scott Selections here on Friday, June 21st. And good luck to all of you and your respective bets today. Bye, everyone.